When I was a kid, my brother Ryan and I lived in a small house on the edge of a pine forest. The trees were so thick that even on bright days, the ground stayed dark. Dad worked long shifts and Mom did night cleaning, so most evenings were just me and Ryan, talking on a pair of old yellow walkie-talkies Dad bought from a flea market. We'd whisper to each other across the house, pretending to be secret agents. He always signed off with the same words, Channel 7 forever. Then one night, a storm hit, and a truck slid through an intersection. Ryan's car was crushed. He was 16. I was 14. At the funeral, I remember seeing one of those walkie-talkies resting in the coffin beside him, the little red light taped over so it wouldn't glow. For years, I couldn't even look at the one I still had. 5 years. Passed. I grew up, moved away for college, tried not to think about the accident, but last month, I came home to clear out the attic before my parents sold the house. Everything smelled like dust and insulation, the kind of scent that sticks to your throat. Under a box of holiday lights, I found the remaining walkie-talkie. The battery cover was cracked, but when I shook it, I heard the faint rattle of batteries still inside. I don't know what possessed me, but I wiped the dust off and turned it on. Static filled the attic, that familiar hiss like wind through a tunnel. I smiled for a second. It was such a small piece of childhood. Then, under the static, I thought I heard breathing. Not white noise breathing. Slow, uneven. I told myself it was feedback from the wiring. Houses like this hum and creak all the time. Still, I said, hello, into the speaker. The reply came almost instantly. A whisper that sounded like my name. Primera? Fros? The voice was soft, stretched thin by the static, but it said it clearly. Tommy. I dropped the walkie-talkie. It hit the floor with a dull crack, but the red light stayed on. I knelt down, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the rain outside. Who is this? I asked, because I couldn't admit what I was hearing. The answer came after a long hiss of static. It's cold down here. The words were weak, distant, as if they'd traveled through miles of wire or water. For a full minute, I didn't move. Then I laughed nervously, maybe some trucker on the same channel. Maybe a prank from a neighbor. But no one nearby used these old models, anymore. They stopped making them a decade ago. I switched the dial to another channel. Static. Channel 1, 2, 3, nothing but empty noise. When I turned it back to 7, the voice whispered again, You found me. That was the moment I noticed the smell. The air in the attic changed, thickened. It was the same damp, metallic scent that filled the car the day we went to identify Ryan's belongings: wet metal, engine oil, and something faintly sweet, like antifreeze. I backed away until I hit a stack of boxers. I wanted to throw the device out the window, but some part of me needed to be sure. I asked the voice, Who are you? A pause. Then, You promised we'd stay on Channel 7. The static faded until all I heard was breathing, and then a faint La Frians. Not the sound of memory, but the real, living rhythm of it. That's when I noticed another sound beneath the breathing. A slow tap, 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 like fingers on wood. It was coming from the floorboards under my feet. The attic light flickered, and I ran downstairs, clutching the walkie-talkie against my chest. The living room was dark except for the glow of the streetlight outside. I sat on the couch, shaking, listening to the hiss in my hand. Then the breathing stopped. Silence stretched so long that I started to believe I'd imagined everything. I set the walkie-talkie on the coffee table and went to the kitchen for a glass of water. When I came back, the red light was off. I exhaled, relieved, reached for the switch end. The device crackled to life. My own voice came through it, recorded from somewhere, whispering, Don't leave me again. After that, things began to blur. I hardly slept. Every night around 3 a.m., the walkie-talkie powered on by itself. Sometimes I'd hear footsteps on the porch. Once I found both front door locks undone, even though I live alone. The voice changed too. It stopped sounding exactly like Ryan and started shifting, sometimes lower, sometimes distorted, as if several people were whispering at once. I bought new batteries, thinking maybe I could test if the signal came from somewhere else. But the minute I replaced them, the device switched on without me touching it. A child's giggle leaked through the speaker, followed by a whisper. "It's not over." When I tried to record the audio on my phone, the recording was blank except for a single second of silence that ended with the faint word "forever." I called the old number of the funeral home to ask if they demoved Ryan's casket, maybe for maintenance of the cemetery grounds. The man on the line said no, nothing had been touched since the burial. I didn't tell him that I'd found the other walkie-talkie in the basement that morning, lying on the concrete under a tarp, its battery light blinking faintly like a heartbeat. By now, I keep both devices locked in a drawer, but sometimes they rattle against each other like they're trying to speak through the wood. The noises in the house have changed. The walls seem to sigh at night, and when the wind moves through the trees, I swear I hear my brother's voice in the leaves saying my name. Last night, I woke to static again, not from the drawer, but from my phone. The voice memo app was open, recording on its own. The screen showed a timestamp of exactly 3:07 a.m. I pressed play. That was my own voice whispering, "I'm coming home." I don't remember saying it. I don't even remember waking up. I think the connection between those walkie-talkies never ended. Maybe it never could. Maybe that's what he meant by Channel 7 forever. Sometimes I wonder if Ryan really wants me to join him or if something else is using his voice to pull me back. I'm writing this down because tonight I'm planning to go back to the attic one last time. If the light flickers again, if I hear him call my name, I'll answer. If you ever find an old walkie-talkie in a dusty box, don't turn it on, no matter how lonely you feel. Some frequencies were never meant for the living, and if you ever hear a voice whisper your name through the static, switch it off before it says the next word, because once it does, you'll never be sure whose voice is answering. If you made it this far, you might still think it's just a story. But if your phone hums tonight, or the radio in your car catches a whisper that sounds like someone you lost, don't listen. And if you want to test your nerves again, there's another recording waiting for you. The voice behind the door. Click on it if you think you can handle what's on the other side.